Dude, I cannot catch a freaking break. I tried to record this video and then the camera just randomly stopped recording. And then I tried to record it again and I got pretty far. And then my sister called me and I was like, bro, no one talk to me, I'm filming. We're gonna talk about journaling. I said I was gonna make a video about this and 2 of you guys said you wanted to see it. Journaling has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And my relationship with journaling has evolved and I feel like we're like besties now. I used to only journal when I was happy, which is kind of like equivalent to only going to therapy when you're happy. And I think it was just because I never wanted to document when I was sad and then have to read it later. But you don't have to read your old diary entries. Like, that's one thing that I had to learn as I got older, was it's nice and all to chronicle your life and to have record of it and to, you know, to keep it as like a memory. But some memories you don't want to reread. You just have to talk it out and get it out of your system. And I feel like that's just what I've come to learn now. I will journal anything and everything that I need to say and get out of my system. And if it's really, you know, that bad, maybe I'll just put a post-it and write trigger warning, don't read this later, you know, or like rip it up and throw it away. Journaling can be whatever you want it to be. And I went over to my mom's house the other day and I saw she had a bin of journals. And I kind of knew that she journaled. I knew that like growing up she had journals, but I didn't know just how many she had. She had so many. And she had a journal that she would use to document her family when they would get sick. So like, she would write down when I got a stomach ache and what I took to relieve the stomach ache. And she would write down like that her husband lost his voice. It was so cute and it was dated back to like 2007. And I remember when I had my first ever migraine, like I remember everything so vividly, and she wrote down every detail of it. And that was the first page that I opened up when I opened the book up, and I was like, oh my gosh, my first ever migraine, caught in 4K. It felt like a video recording of my migraine because it was so detailed. But anyways, there's so much joy that comes with journaling, so much therapy that comes with journaling, that I really implore you to go out and buy a journal if you don't journal, and to just know that there are no rules when it comes to journaling. It is a relationship that you will have with your book and yourself, and it is whatever you want it to be. And we're gonna kind of go through the kind of journals that I keep and my most current diary and my diary setup. My aunt gave this to me years ago and she said, oh my gosh, I was putting on a jacket and I guess you borrowed the jacket and you kept one of your diary pages in the pocket. And this was from 2011. I'm just gonna read you guys the first sentence because I feel like this sums it up. Dear diary, my life is falling apart. Thought daughter. Yeah, dude, I used to go in. I do not have the endurance to write pages like this anymore unless I'm really going through it. This is funny. I also, in this exact article right here, I have written down my first ever crush. I feel like at age 11, like, life was easy. So when I read about my struggles of like my life falling apart, I just wanna give her a nuggie or something. Like, you have no idea. Life is about to get way harder. Life is about to get way harder, girl. You better buckle up. But let's get into my journals. Before I bought my most current diary, I was using this one heavily. This was my prayer diary. I also have my vows written in here. This was formatted in a way that was like literally talking to God, and in a very friendship way. Like I'm talking to my bestie. I probably opened up the most that I ever have before in this diary. And this diary, I started using a couple years ago. Like I started it in 2023. So this is kind of when I feel like I had plateaued with my journaling in like my late teens, early 20s. Like I was journaling, but very rarely. I would kind of go back to only journaling when I was happy. I didn't really want to journal that much. And then in 2023, like, I don't know how or why, I just started to go in. Like I was like, let me just say something really quickly. I started journaling a lot more, and I've kept journaling since then in a very vulnerable and transparent way, and I feel like that's worked out the best for me when it comes to journaling being a form of therapy because I am not holding back in any way. This is the MVP right here, the prayer diary. The only problem with this notebook was that if I left it in the car in the sun, I don't know if it's the material, but it would super curl. Like it would curl like a cashew. And also, since it's kind of just like an open book, I would throw it in my purse and it would slowly get damaged. You can't really tell because I've tried to manipulate it back to its original shape. It just started to fray along the edges, and I knew that I needed something that was a lot easier to throw in a bag everywhere I go, to keep on me all day, every day. And I had been stalking this company called Louise Carmen, and there's other companies like this. I think Paper Republic is one that kind of has the same customizing feature. They do the concept of having like a leather casing almost as your diary, with elastic bands that go through the spine, and then you slip a diary or a journal into it. And then as you fill it out, and it's all done and you're ready to switch it out, you just take the book out and you put a new book in. I really like that idea because I feel like you grow so sentimental to your diary that like you don't want to leave it. Like I remember when I was writing in these ones and I would finish a book and it felt like, ugh, I don't even want to start a new one because I don't want to let go of my book and my stickers and everything that I've done to it. So it's cool that I can just take out the insides and just put a new notebook inside. Also, you get to pick the color of your leather. So I picked, I think I picked turquoise. It was either turquoise or teal. And I really love how it patinas. It's like getting a little bit more rich, a little darker. And then I got a burgundy cord. You could pick the color of your cord, and also charms too. I kind of passed on the charms because they were $20 and I had this one at home. So I just got the journal and I put this pendant from an antique store in Morro Bay on it. I think it's gorgeous. It's kind of like a mother of pearl. On it, you can get it engraved. I got the words silver linings engraved in it. That is my diary. Let's take a look inside. So when you first open up the diary, you're met with a Polaroid of my husband and I. This Polaroid I kept in my car for the longest time, but it slowly started to get sun bleached. So I'm happy that it has a little bit of a safer corner. And I love opening my journal and just seeing that first thing. This is for my 21st birthday. And then you have a post-it note on the first journal in the book, and it says there's freedom and discipline. This has kind of been my mantra for 2025, so it's cool to have that plastered first thing when you open it. This first notebook is strictly lists, any sort of to-do, book reading lists. I have, I'm trying to do slow buy this year. Originally I was saying no buy, where you buy one thing a month, but it's proving to be a huge challenge for me. So we've lessened the rein to slow buy, and pretty much what I've been doing is whenever I want to buy something, I write down what it is and the date that I wanted to buy it. It just becomes a little bit more intentional when you're purchasing things. It's a little bit more of a mindful consumption because there was like a bag that was expensive, so I couldn't just drop the money for it. So I wrote it down in my slow buy list, and I already don't want the bag anymore. And this was 4 days ago, which is crazy. When you see the date and you're like, oh, I don't want it anymore, it's been 4 days, like it really just reinforces the fact that I was buying so many things just on a whim. I have a couple more things listed that I want to buy. One of them being the Oko Living yoga mat. I have wanted to buy this for years though, so I will buy this eventually, but I have that written down, and I also have another notebook written down. I have this diary that I keep on me everywhere I go because it's so convenient and it's like does everything I need it to do. But when it comes to having more of a commonplace journal, it's not as convenient, because when I'm writing out something that I'm learning, whether it's I'm writing out thoughts on a book I've read or a video that I'm watching or a podcast I'm listening to, like I really want to go in and expand on what I'm talking about or the points that they're listing. And when you're writing in a smaller book, you're having to fill out so many pages. So I do have a Commonplace journal in this Louise Carmen diary, but it's almost like a mini version, and then I will eventually get a bigger one. And if you don't know, a Commonplace journal is kind of like your own personal encyclopedia. You write down quotes that you've heard, just things that are really interesting. I also like to list out things that I want to gain a deeper understanding and knowledge on. Like the most recent one was like the history of the conflicts in the Middle East. Like I am not knowledgeable on it, so I'll write it down, things that I want to get a deeper understanding on, or things that I just need to like look up and learn. So that would go in my list one, but I wouldn't write down what I find out about the conflicts in the Middle East. I wouldn't write that in this book because it's too small. Like I would need my bigger Commonplace journal, if that makes any sense. The first journal is just strictly lists and reminders, to-dos, all of that good stuff. The second one, this beautiful periwinkle moleskin, is my diary, which we will not open. We're not gonna read it because sometimes it can be scary, and that's okay. This one I have been using as just my regular diary. I love having this book on me everywhere I go because you never know when you're gonna wanna write. There have been times where I've been like, I need to write right now, and I'm driving, and you know, it's just as bad as texting. I will admit I did pull my book out and write some things down because I had to get it out, but it's not safe, and I will try not to do that again. When I got this Louise Carmen, it actually came with a couple notebooks that were perforated, but the perforated pages don't do it for me. Like, when it's perforated, I struggled so long with ripping pages out of my diaries. I don't want to go back to doing that. So that middle one is a diary. I also like that it's a lot bigger because I do want my diary one to be an actual book. These smaller notebooks that came with the Louise Carmen are great for like replacing, but I don't want like a million of these diary entries because I don't want to have to date and organize all of them. It's just easier to have it in a bigger book. And then my last one, like I mentioned before, is my Commonplace. So I have in here everything from book notes to, like I said before, video notes. I like to watch this this creator on YouTube, Career Coach Mandy, and she gives really good advice on bringing back joy and creativity into your life. I've found her work to be so inspiring, and I feel so fed listening to her videos. I'll just put it on while I'm washing dishes, I'll put it on while I'm getting ready for work, and I find that it's a lot better to listen to that than to listen to like reality TV. I still could F up some reality TV, but I don't think that it's like should be in my head every waking minute of the day. I think sometimes I need to feed myself with like better ideas. I also have book notes. My most recent was The Healing Magic of Forest Bathing, and I just have some jotted down notes from what pages I read. And then I also have some notes from Harvard professor Arthur C. Brooks on notes on happiness. So that kind of all goes into my back book. I will be getting a bigger one so that I can write more expansive pages. I feel limited when I write on such a tiny notebook. This is like perfect for on the go, but if I'm gonna sit down and actually learn, like I need something a little bigger. Yeah, that's kind of my Louise Carmen setup. The very back has a pocket, and in the back pocket I just have a letter that my husband wrote me when I was working a job that I did not like, and I would cry on my way to work almost every morning. When he wrote me this note, it was really cute. When he wrote me this note, it kind of just made it worse. It got worse before it got better, because then I would just read this note and keep crying. But now looking back, I just feel so sentimental to this piece of paper. And we always write each other little notes, which I think is really cute. But that is a breakdown of my Louise Carmen. There's also a lot of videos on YouTube about different types of journaling and different notebooks that you can use to kind of catalog your life. I've seen like a sentence a day one where you write down one sentence a day. And what's cool is if you have a book kind of like this where you have different notebooks in your notebook, you can make one of your notebooks just one of those one a day sentences. And then a gratitude one I actually don't have, which I think is crazy because I'm like super thing about gratitude, like I'm always talking about it. I don't have a gratitude journal, like a designated gratitude journal. I've always kind of just written it out in my diary, because even my diary, that middle book, is kind of like I'll throw in a prayer at the end. So it's kind of become a mush of like stream of consciousness too. There's really no rules to journaling, so it's whatever you want it to be. But if you wanted to keep it a little bit organized, you do have the option with a notebook like this to have it in different segments. But I've seen that. I've seen gratitude journaling. I've seen one where you kind of just write down quick notes of what happened in the day, but you don't go into detail. So you would be like, for my day today, I would say woke up, went to gym, went to appointment, went to live scan appointment, got groceries, making dinner, organized house. But I don't know if I would ever want to do that kind of journaling, because I feel like, what am I gonna do with all that? You know what I mean? Like maybe, I don't know. Personally, I don't think I would do that, but I guess some people are into it. And then there's other types of journaling too. Oh, there's like manifestation journaling. I don't really do that, although I did do something very similar where I wrote out this was like what I talked about in my last video, where you write out the most evolved version of yourself and then you become that person. So I guess in a way that was kind of like a manifestation log. But yeah, that's all the journals that I have right now. I don't have too many things going on. Since I have this book, it's kind of all just been in one place, which is really cool. But I do need to get a Commonplace book. Journaling has forever changed my life. I remember when I was little, my mom told me like, you can't take any of your earthly possessions to heaven. And I remember just thinking, no, 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 you can't take my journals away. You can't take my journal. And I still feel that. I still feel like it's really hard to part with your journals. That's it for today's video. Go pick up a journal, go pick up a diary, and start writing. And I do want to make I have a favorites video coming. It's coming, I promise, it's coming. That's it for today's video, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you like it, subscribe. I love you guys. Bye bye.